Okay, so this is optional midterm. The first one, you have y equal to f of x. And you want to graph the function g of x is f of x minus 4. So one thing here is you need to know what's the relationship of this g of x and f of x, right? So we know if you have this g of x is equal to f of x minus 4. So what does this one mean? That means this is moving on the x direction, all right? Moving on the x axis, all right? It's from left or right, okay? Not up and down, all right? So x minus 4 is actually moving to the right for 4 units. All right, so that is this one right here. The x-axis movement is a little bit opposite than the sun outside. All right, if I say I have a h of x equal to f of x, f of x plus 4. All right, this one is outside this x, so this one is moving on the y direction. This one is moving up for 4 units. All right, so if it's outside, it's moving on the y-axis, it's the same as the sun here. All right, so plus is moving up. If it's moving on the x-axis, is opposite than this sun. All right, so when this is minus 4, actually this one is moving to the right for 4 units. Okay, so knowing this transformation, now you go to choose the correct answer, right? So anything you see is moving up and down. This one is moving up and down. So this is moving down. This one is moving up. So apparently B and D is incorrect. All right. So moving on the x direction is either A or B, or A or C. Okay. We said earlier this one is moving to the right. So where is the right one? Right one, this point, the first point is -4. So moving to the right should be starting with 0 right here, right? So that's the correct answer. And then this point, the last point here is 4, moving to the right, so should be to the A for 4 points. Okay, so for 4 units. So C will be the correct answer. All right. So this one, you cannot using the calculator because it didn't. This one is kind of like a piecewise function connect together. Okay, this function actually need to have one straight line, one function in here, second function in there. This graph actually is 3 pieces of function connect together. All right. So we just need to know how to read a graph here, not using a calculator in this one. Okay, so you know this one is moving to the right for 4 units in here. Okay, any questions? All right, the second one here, actually this is also from chapter 6, chapter 2, 2.6, right, section 6. This one we said earlier, the little circle here is called a composition. All right, the composition function. Composition is a new function we learned from this chapter, okay? So how do you do the composition? It's consider the inner and the outer, all right? So if I have a f composite g of x, okay? F composite g of x. This one, f is the outer, g is the inner, all right? The quick and easy way here is I just go to the f function, replace x by g, right? So my f of x is x plus 3. So this one will be g plus 3. Look at it. All right. And then eventually you replace g in. G is 5x plus 1. So g is 5x plus 1 and then plus 3. And then you simplify this one. So that is 5x plus 4. So that is, you need to simplify your answer, right? So that means you need to combine the like term together, okay? All right, so that is f composite g, right? And then if I want to do the number 3, what is f composite g when x equal to what? 0. So this one is when x equal to 0. Since I already found a composition function, so I will just need to replace this x by 0 in and calculate this one, right? and then 5 times 0 is 0, so that is just only 4. Okay, so that one, you answer the A and C all together. Same thing, you can answer the B here. B here is G is the outer, so you have a G composite F of X, right? I can write down this one is G of F, okay? G will be the outer, the first one is always the outer, the second one is the inner, okay? All right, so we have this very similar, okay? So I can go to the G function. So this time I will go to the G function, replace we have a G of X. Look at it. If G of X is equal to 5X plus 1. So how much is the G of F? I will just replace X by F. So this is 5F plus 1, right? So this is 5F plus 1. And then we're going to go to using the F in here. So replace this F. F here is what? X plus 3. So X plus 3. And then plus 1. All right, and then we just simplify this whole thing, and that's it. Okay, so you multiply that in, get rid of parentheses. 5x plus 15 plus 1, so that will be 5x plus 16. All right, so that is your G composite F, right? G composite F of X is equal to 5x plus 16 in here. All right, and very similar for D, since you already got a composition function, just replace the X by 0, okay? And I know this one, everyone know how to do this one, right? 5 times 0 is 0, so that is only 16. All right, so that is the composition. This is a new one, but actually once you understand, it should be pretty straightforward, okay? Especially I'm showing you the shortcut here, even easier, all right? So that way you can do the, the outer and the inner all together, right? The first one is always the outer, the second one is always the inner. And then you just go to the outer together and then replace the X by the inner one, okay? And then you simplify. Any question about the composition? Anyone has any questions? All right, let's look at number 3. Like I said, on the test, the order is always random, right? So we have a random order in here. The area of a rectangle wall of a barn is 32 square feet. So what does the 32 square feet mean? That means this one is an area, right? Area, you're using the square feet. Length and width, you only use feet, all right? And the length is 4 feet longer than the width. Find the length and width for this barn, all right? So you just need to, for this one, you will need to know 2 formulas for that, okay? So these 2 formulas used very often in algebra. You might want to remember, might need to remember, okay? The rectangle, quite straight. The rectangle here, okay, trying to be a little bit straighter. All right, so the rectangle here, that means length and width, they are all perpendicular. All right, and you got 4 sides, right? So the opposite sides are equal. Opposite sides are equal in here. So we're using L for the length, using W for the width. So the perimeter, what is perimeter? Perimeter is the sum of all sides, okay? Since I got 4 sides in here, so I have a L plus L will be 2L, right? And then the W plus W, I have a 2W. So that is my perimeter, okay? And the area here is length times width, all right? So you think like an area is a 2-dimensional, right? If you have volume, it will be 3-dimensional, okay? So area is 2-dimensional, so you need to multiply. You don't add them together. You add them together, it's still 1 dimension, all right? And perimeter is 1 dimension, so you can kind of tell you this one right here, right? And this one is telling you the area of this one is 32 square feet. So that means my length times width will be 32. All right, and we need another this one. Actually, you don't have to use the perimeter, but it also telling you the length is 4 feet longer than the width. So how do you translate this one? Well, the length is L, right? And is the equal sign. Look at it. So you can translate this one into a math expression. The length, so L is equal sign, right? And 4 feet longer than the width. So 4 plus the width. That is your length expression. All right, so now we got two equations. We can solve this one. So we're gonna replace this one to the L. All right, replace this one for L. So L is 4 plus W, and then times W here equal to 32. Okay. All right, so now this is a quadratic equation, right? So we're gonna need to solve this quadratic. So we multiply W in, so that's 4W plus W squared. We're gonna need to minus 32 on both sides. So that will make one side equal to 0, right? And then this will be W squared plus 4W minus 32 equal to 0, okay? So how do you solve this one right here? You can do the factoring. All right, factor this one. Factoring this one should be pretty straightforward because W squared I can factor into W and W. And then look at this. This is negative 32. Negative 32 I will break down into two numbers. I can break down into 4 or negative 8 or negative 4 and 8. Okay? Because 4 times 8 is 32. All right, my middle term here is positive, right? My middle here is positive 4. So if I add 4 and 8 together, if I add these two together, if I add them together, I will get a negative 4. If I add these two together, I will get a positive 4, right? You add them together. My middle one is positive, so I need to choose this combination, all right? So this combination will be W minus 4 and W plus 8, and then this equal to 0. Okay, and then you set each factor into 0, right? And then solve this one. This will be equal to 4. This one will be equal to negative 8. We're gonna get rid of this one. Okay, we can get rid of this one in here because this is a real application. We don't want the width to be a negative number. So this width will be 4 feet. All right, and how much is the length here? Well, we have a length here. Look at it. We have a L is 4 plus W. W is equal to 4. So that is equal to 8. All right. So that means, yeah, the length here is 8 feet. The length here is 8 feet. The width here is 4 feet. All right. So that will answer this question in here. Any questions for this one? Okay, so you do need to know the area for the rectangle here for sure, right? The area here is using the length times the width, okay, using the multiplication. So when you have a square feet, you need to multiply the length and width together to get a square, okay? All right, number 4, use the graph to determine the following. A is the function's domain, range, x-intercept, y-intercept, and then evaluate f of the 2 and f of the 5, right? So basically, this one is just reading the graph or knowing how to read the graph, right? So what does domain mean? Domain, that means all the x value that the graph have, okay? And the range is the y value. All right, so let's see if I can make this one bigger. Okay, so if you look at this one right here, how do I read my x value? How do I read my x value? This arrow, that means I can go on and on forever. Okay, so this one can go all the way to the left-hand side. And this arrow, that means it didn't stop here. This arrow means I can go on and on to the right hand side. So looks like x can be any number. Look at that. This can go on and on. This will be, negative. This will be go on to x will be on and on. This x will be positive, right? So my x value here is said type in the interval notation. Look at that. You have to be very careful. You have to type it in an interval notation. Okay. All right. So my x value here on my domain here, okay, domain here will be negative infinity to positive infinity. That means this one is all real numbers, okay, all real numbers. And the range is the y value, domain is the x, range is the y value, right? So apparently y is not all real number. This one don't go up, okay, and then this one can go down, and then this one go down. Y is also negative, so that means y can go on and on forever to the negative value. But for the maximum, this one have a maximum value, okay, maximum value right here, and then you can see this one is -5, so this should be -1, and this one is a solid connection in here, so we need to include this one, include -1, okay. So my y here is from negative infinity, right? Negative infinity to -1 using the bracket. That means y is less than or equal to -1. Okay, this one is the same thing. This is the interval. This is the interval notation. All right, this is interval notation. This is just the inequality in here. All right, so that is you range. Okay. Any x-intercept here? Do we have an x-intercept? Anyone? Okay, can anyone answer here? Do we have an x-intercept? No. Okay, all right, good. I see a lot of chat here. It's no. All right, because look at this one. The graph didn't pass the x-axis. Okay, so this one is purely reading the graph. You don't do like anything, just observe this graph, right? So the graph, this one is the maximum y here is -1, so the graph didn't cross the x-axis. So x-intercept here, you answer none. Okay, no x-intercept. All right, so let's see how to okay, so you can just choose B. There's no x-intercept in here, okay? And how about the y-intercept? Of course, this graph will pass the y-axis here, right? So y-intercept here, this one will be -5. And then let's see how you do the format in here. It didn't telling you have to type in the order pair. It just need to type an integer. So your answer here will be just -5, okay? You just type an integer here. Y-intercept here is -5. All right, so that's why you have to read the question carefully to see what kind of format it's asking for. All right, the last one here, E here is finding the f of the 2 and f of the 5. Okay, so what does f of the 2 mean? F of the 2, that means you need to read the y value when x equal to 2. When x equal to 2. So x equal to 2, this will be 0. This is 5 right here, right? So that's 1 and 2 right here. And then that looks like f of 2, this will be -3. Okay, so you read this one right here. If you need enlarge a little bit bigger, you can always enlarge a little bit bigger. And f of the 5, that means x equal to 5. How much is y value? So x equal to 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. Okay, 5 actually is right here. All right, and then this should be like a -2. Okay, so the y value here is about -2. All right, so this one is just reading the graph, right? Reading the graph. Okay, number 5, this one is doing a little bit calculation, or need to figure out this one right here, right? You can use a calculator, or you can just do that by head in here, right? So this should be pretty straightforward. Square root of 0 is 0, so this x will be 0, right? F of x will be 0. Okay, this one do not allow me to write. That's why I have to write down in here. Okay, so number 5, we can set up the x value. We can set up this is f of x, and then we can have this one is g of x, right? G of x is square root of x minus 4. This one will be just square root of x, right? So when x equal to 0, 1, 4, and 9. All right, so how much is that? Well, square root of 0 is 0, square root of 1 is 1, right? You can do this one right here. And then this will be square root of 4 will be 2, square root of 9 will be 3, okay? And then this one, g of x, you just using f of x minus 4. So you just using this whole thing minus 4. 0 minus 4 is negative 4, 1 minus 4 is negative 3, 2 minus 4 is negative 2, 3 minus 4 is negative 1. All right, so that's it. That's pretty straightforward. And what does this relationship, what does the graph look like? Well, this graph, y equal to f of x, the domain here, x is going to have to be greater than equal to 0. So this is f of x equal to square root of x, right? That kind of thing. And this one right here, that means g of x is square root of x minus 4. So that means this whole thing is moving. Actually, this is outside the x, so this is moving on the y direction. Okay, moving on the y direction. And y direction, when it's negative, that means moving down. All right, so negative 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving down for 4 units. So this kind of a little bit like this is the exit, and then this will be something. Not that one. Okay, all right. So this one will be moving to the moving down for 4 units in here. So that will be giving you g of x, right? G of x. Okay, another one here is if you really do not know, you can put it in a calculator and graph them, right? At least you got a function here, so you can actually graph. All right, you can actually graph in here, okay? Let me show you a little bit of calculator, how to graph this one. This one, you just choose the correct graph, right? So you can go to choose the correct graph. Okay, so we have this one is a square root. So second x squared will be square root, right? Square root of x, okay? And then you can go ahead graph the square root of x. So that's how you look at that, right? And then your y2 here, or your g of x, this is the square root of x, okay? Square root of x. Remember, this minus 4 is outside the square root. If we inside the square root, we're moving on the x direction, right? But it's outside the square root, so that is moving on the y direction. Oh, not 44. It's just okay, and then we graph this one right here. So now you can see this is the whole thing is moving down for the 4 unit. All right, and if I have if some people put this by accident in here, if you have this minus 4, if you put this one in here, okay, if you put this one inside, if you put a negative 4 inside the square root, this is moving to the right for 4 units. This is moving on the x direction. So you can see the y3 is gonna be black one. This one gonna be moving to the right for 4 units. Look at that. All right. So that's why when you do the graphing, you typing, you have to be very careful, right? If you type this one and you forgot to move for this outside, if you cover the -4 under the square root, that is moving to the x direction, moving to the right. Okay. So yeah, be careful. Always double check. When you do the typing or something, right? Be careful, right? We say math actually is a very precise language that way. Okay. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5, number 6, use the transformation to graph the following. Okay. All right, so this one is inside. Look at this one right here. This one is inside the square root. All right, this h of x is inside the square root. So inside the square root is moving on the x direction. So you know that. You know, like this one is close to the x. So this one is moving on the x direction. And on the x direction, when it's positive, actually it's moving to the left. So this one is moving to the left for 6 units. Okay. We can give this one a little bit graphing. We can clear this one right here, right? We can just clear the whole thing. All right, so we have a square root of x plus 6, okay? And remember, this 6 is under the square root. So this time is moving to the left for 6 units. All right, so yeah, if you really do not know, at least this one, you have a function you can graph, okay? You can use TI 83, 84 calculator and graph that one. Number 7, this is chapter 2 again, right? Actually, this is also chapter 2, all right? So this optional midterm, actually a lot of content are in chapter 2 as well. Using the point-slope form of the line satisfy the given condition, using the point-slope form to write the slope-intercept equation, okay? So the line passing these 2 points, okay? So line passing these 2 points. Okay, so we have a 1 and 2, 2 and 4. Okay, so if you really want to see how these 2 points look like, you can give it a little bit graph, but graphing is not necessary to do this one. Okay, I just give you a little bit graphing so you look kind of more familiar. All right, so point, we're gonna call this is point A, this one is point B, right? Point A is in 1 and 2, so x is 1, y is 2 right here, so that's your point A. All right, point B is in 2 and 4, so 2 and 4. All right, so that is your point B in here, so that is your line. Okay, that's the line. All right, so basically we want to find the equation for this line, right? First, if you want to find the equation, we have 2 ways to find the line equation. One way is y equal to mx plus b, right? That's the slope-intercept form. Another one is y equal to y minus y1, right? Y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. So that is the slope point or point slope form. All right. So it really doesn't matter which form in here. You all have to find the slope first. Okay. So look at this one right here. You have to find the slope. This one you also have to find the slope. Okay. So either one you have to find the slope first. So slope we're using the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? And I usually tell people, say you can go ahead and mark your x1, y1, and your x2, y2 that way. So you don't pop that in incorrect. All right, so give me a little bit small marker here, okay? x1, y1, x2, y2. Now your y2 is 4 minus 2, right? And x2 will be 2 minus 1. And that should be really easy. That's 2 over 1 or just 2. Okay, so my slope here is 2. All right, and I usually just choosing a point, a little bit smaller number to do is easier. If you pick this point to do, actually it will be the same, but you have to simplify. All right, so I usually just choose a positive number or smaller number. So I'm going to using y minus y1, so y minus 2 equal to m times x minus x1. x1 here is 1. All right, so that is my point slope form. Okay, and then if I simplify a little bit, I will be able to get to the slope intercept form. All right, and then if I want a slope intercept form, I just simplify this one to this form. Okay, so I will multiply it in. This one will be your A answer, right? This is your slope and point form A. All right, so multiply that in. This will be 2x minus 2, and then you add a 2 on both sides. All right, so basically this one cancel out. So this will be just y equal to 2x. So 2x, that means b is 0, right? You don't have to plus 0. You just answer y equal to 2x in here. Okay. All right, so that is this one right here. So the key thing here is you need to find the slope first. Okay, and then you can plug it into the slope point formula, get this force set, and then you simplify, change it into the slope intercept format. All right, any question about this one? Anyone? If you have any question, you can type it in the chat, or you can just ask right away. Okay, I would rather you can go ahead and jump in and ask right away, so you don't accumulate question. Okay, number 8, determine whether the function is an even R or linear. Then determine whether the function graph is symmetric with respect to the x-axis, the origin, or none of them. Okay, you can actually graph this one. Okay, so this one looks like these both are even power. All right, both are even power, and they don't have any number after this one. So this one looks like a symmetry, gonna be symmetric with the y-axis, and that means it's an even function. That's my first impression in here. How do you prove it's an even function? There's an algebra way, right? You can graph, you can do the graphing. There's a graphing way to prove that it's an even function, to build it's an even function, but you also have an algebra way. So let me talk the algebra way first, and then we can graph that. Okay. So the algebra way, in order to prove an even here, you have to prove f of negative x equal to f of x. Okay. In order to prove this one is an R function, which is a symmetry around the origin, this one you have to prove f of the negative x equal to negative f of x. All right, it's equal to the opposite f of x. Okay. All right, so we can find the f of negative x. So how do I find the f of negative x? Just replace x by negative x. Replace x by negative x. Okay, and then we still have a power, right? Minus 3 times negative x to the power of 6. All right, and then we simplify this one. We know the even power, negative even power is still positive. All right, same thing as this one. Okay, so that means this whole thing, this f of negative x, this whole thing is equal to the original one, f of x. So that means we prove this one, we prove this relationship exists. So that means this one is an even function. When it's even, it's symmetric with the y-axis. Okay, yeah, it's symmetric with the y-axis in here. And usually if your graph is even, it won't be an R function, because if you symmetric with the y, you won't symmetric with the origin, right? So you don't really have to prove that one. But if you want to prove this one right here, we can give you a quick calculation. How do I calculate negative f of x? Well, this one is using negative times the entire f function. So entire f function is 1/3 x to the a minus 3x to the 6, right? And then you get rid of parentheses. This is negative. And then negative, this is positive. All right? So this is negative f of x. Apparently, these two are not equal. These two are not equal. Look at it. These two are not equal. All right. So these two are not equal. So that means f of negative x is not equal to negative f of x. So that means this one is not a R function. Okay. We already proved this one is even. All right. So as I said earlier, if a graph is even, it cannot be R that way. Okay. All right. So that is using the algebra way. And of course, we can using the calculus way, right? So we can graph it, we can visualize that. All right, so I have 1 over 3 x to the 8 power. All right, x to the 8 power. Okay, minus 3x to the 6 power. All right, we'll just graph them. Okay, so you can see this one. I can adjust this a little bit bigger. All right, so this one, it is symmetric with the y-axis. Okay, you can see this one symmetric, this one symmetric. All right, let me go ahead zoom a little bit. All right, so now you can see a little bit better. Yeah, this one, it is symmetric with the y-axis in here, right? If you fold this graph around the y-axis, the left-hand side gonna be overlap on the right-hand side, that kind of thing, and then it drop a point perpendicular to the y-axis extend to the same distance, you can reach the other point. So yeah, this one, it is symmetric with the y-axis. All right, so that is how you visualize. You can see the graph that way. Okay. All right, so number 9, solve this compound inequality, right? So this one should be pretty straightforward. As I said earlier, if you want to solve this kind of inequality, you want to do them all together. Okay, don't separate them, because if you want to write down an interval notation, it will be easier that way. All right. So how do I solve this one? I want to get rid of this a, so I need to minus a on all of them. Minus a on all of them in here, right? So these two will cancel up. So I will have x less than 6 minus a is negative 2. Negative 1 minus a will be negative 9. All right, so now your interval will be just from negative 9 to negative 2. There's no equal sign, so you're gonna use the parenthesis in here. All right, so negative 9 on the left hand side, negative 2 on the right hand side, and that's it. That's how you solve this type of compound inequality in here, right? Okay, number 10, you want to evaluate this function. Okay, so how do you evaluate this one right here? Basically, you just plug into you have f of x, right, equal to x squared plus 7x plus 1. Okay, so f of the 2, what does f of 2 mean? That means you replace the x by 2. So that's 2 squared plus 7 times 2 plus 1, right? 2 squared is 4 plus 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1. So that will give you 19 in here. All right, so that's how you do the f of the 2. Okay, we're going to do the f of negative x first. All right, so how do I do the f of negative x? Replace x by negative x. So this will be negative x squared plus 7 times negative x plus 1. Okay, and this one negative square is still positive, so that will be x squared and then simplify this one. So that's minus 7x plus 1. Okay, so that is the f of x in here. Apparently, this f of x is not equal to f of the negative x is not equal to f of x, right? So that means this one is not an even function. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, we talked about the even earlier. All right. How do I find the f of How do I find the f of x plus 5? Same principle, right? F of x plus 5. I was thinking it is f of x plus 5 like a big star. Okay, so think about it. If I have a f of a star, what do I have? If I f of a star, I just replace x by star. Okay, so this one will be the star square plus 7 times the star plus 1. Okay, so you follow the same pattern in here. All right, so this x plus 5 is a big star. All right, so this one we have a star square plus 7 times the star plus 1. Okay, and then I just plug this star in. All right, this star here is x plus 5. X plus 5. Okay, it's very similar. And then you just go to simplify this equation. All right, this one is a perfect square. You can use the perfect square formula, or if you don't remember the formula, you're gonna go to formula in, right? Basically, if you have a plus b perfect square, that's equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. That's the formula. Okay, if you don't remember the formula, you're gonna go to use a plus b times a plus b, and then go to formula in and then multiply the in, combine the like term, you will get this one. But I usually tell people, say, go ahead, just using the formula. Okay, so this one you will have a fourth term square, right? Fourth term square, so that's x squared plus 2 times the first term times the second term. So 2x times 5, that's 10x. Plus 5 squared, the b squared, 5 squared is 25. Okay, so that is your perfect square. And then plus 7 times x, 7 times 5. All right, and then combine the like term. We have a 10x and 7x, so that's 17x, right? And then we have a 25 plus 35, that is 60 plus 1, 61. All right, so that is your f of x plus 5. Simplify. You need to simplify your answer. All right, combine the like term all together. Any question about this one? Okay, number 11 here, you want to solve for the equation, determine whether the function equation is an identity, a conditional equation, or inconsistent equation in here. So what is the inconsistent? Inconsistent, that means there's no solution. All right, if the solution is an empty set, that means it is not a solution, right? And what is the identity? Identity, that means your left hand side always equal to the right hand side, so that means it's identity. Otherwise, it will be a conditional equation. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's solve this one right here. We have a x plus 2 over 2 minus 6 equal to 2x minus 5 over 3, right? And I usually say, if you do not like the fraction, get rid of fraction. How do you get rid of fraction? Times the least common denominator, or LCD, right? So 3 and 2 don't have any common factor, so I'm going to multiply 3 and 2 together, so 6. So my LCD will be 6. So I'm going to multiply left-hand side, multiply right-hand side by 6. And that way I will be able to get rid of them. Okay, so the first one, 6 times x plus 2 over 2 minus 6, need to distribute that in, 6 times 6. And the right-hand side, you have a 3 and 6 cancel out, so you have a 2. So these 2 need to times the numerator. All right, And then this cancel out, you're gonna have a 3. So 3 you need to times the numerator, okay? And then minus this one will be 36. We can get rid of parentheses, 4x minus 10, okay? And then just get rid of parentheses and then simplify that, calculate. So we're gonna have a 3x plus 6 minus 36 equal to 4x minus 10, right? These two is a like term, so you combine them together. All right, so now you can either get rid of x from the left hand side or on the right hand side. It really doesn't matter. I usually like to keep the bigger x, so I'm gonna get rid of this 30x, 3x, okay? If I get rid of this 3x, this will be equal to x. And since I get rid of this x, I want to get rid of this 10, so I add a 10 on both sides. All right, so these two cancel out. These two cancel out, right? So this will be x, and then negative 30 plus 10 will be negative 20. Okay, so this one, that means we do have a solution in here, right? So we do have a solution. So this is solution. It's just one solution. So x will be negative 20. So that means this one is a consistent function in here, okay? Any question about this one? So the fraction, if you do not like a fraction, you can always get rid of fraction, okay? And this fraction denominator is 2 and 3, so the x can be any real number, all right? So you don't have to consider the domain in here. Okay, number 12, where's the solution set in here using any method you want? Or this one, you want to do the factoring, right? So any method you want in here, you can see like a 4x squared and 5x, they have a common factor x. So I'm gonna pull the x out, okay? So pull x out, so this will be 4x minus 5 equal to 0. If you have a times b equal to 0, you either a equal to 0 or b equal to 0, right? One of them has to be 0. So these two factors, you can have a x equal to 0 or 4x minus 5 equal to 0. Solve this equation, okay? And then divided by 4. So x will be equal to 5 over 4. So we do have two answers. It can be 0, so that's your solution set, right? It said type of exact answer using radical as needed, express complex number in terms of I, using comment to separate the answer as needed. Okay, we do not have an I solution, so we're gonna just type a 0 comment 5 over 4, keep the exact answer. You don't convert it into decimal point. All right. Any questions? And you also have an answer on the end in here. All right, so that's it. That's 12 questions. That would be your optional midterm, basically. All right, so if this optional midterm cover the chapter 1 and chapter 2 situation. So if you want to do the optional midterm, I really recommend you to come back to review this video.